Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing our F1 2020 driver lineup predictions. Now, I did this video last year at about this time, and let's just say I got 12 of them wrong. So let's hope this time we can do a lot better with the predictions. And so without further ado, let's get into the first team, which will be Mercedes. And their current driver pairing is Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, who over their few years as teammates, they've had a very good working relationship with each other, and Lewis Hamilton being very supportive of when he gets beaten by his teammate Valtteri Bottas. But not this season, because Valtteri Bottas is much stronger this season, and he's taking the challenge to his teammate, and he's very close in the championship after 5 rounds, and Lewis now sees Valtteri as a threat to his championship challenge, and he is not as supportive when Valtteri Bottas gets a pole position or a race victory. And if this relationship were to break down, would Mercedes consider changing their lineup? And if they would probably most likely bring in Esteban Ocon, who's not too shabby himself, so it would probably be a sideways move for Mercedes. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that for the 2020 season, Mercedes lineup will be Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. So now on to Ferrari, and their current lineup is Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc for the 2019 season, and I'm not sure they're going to change their lineup unless Sebastian Vettel retires, which could be possible, but I don't think that's going to happen this season. Let's say he does retire, who would replace him at Ferrari? Well, you've got Kimi Raikkonen. He could potentially come back to Ferrari. I think that would be the most obvious thing to do with all his experience. He's a world champion, and he could be a mentor as well for Charles Leclerc. I think that might work out, but I think the best thing to do for Ferrari would to keep their lineup consistent and keep it the same, and I think Ferrari will keep their lineup of Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc for 2020. And so now on to Red Bull, and Red Bull can sometimes be a tricky one because they're never shy of changing their lineups, as we saw a few seasons ago when Max Verstappen got promoted just after 4 races in the season, and after Kvyat's bad run of just 1 race at Russia. So it was very harsh back then, but I think it might happen again this season with Pierre Gasly. He's not had the best of starts to the team. Max Verstappen's done a lot better than he has, and we also saw, particularly at the Spanish Grand Prix, Daniel Kvyat doing very well and making numerous overtakes. So what I think Red Bull is going to do, they're going to promote Kvyat back to the Red Bull team, and they're going to put Pierre Gasly back down to Toro Rosso for a season. And so for 2020, I think that Red Bull's lineup will be Max Verstappen alongside Daniel Kvyat, who has experience in the team as well, don't forget. And so that's going to be my prediction for Red Bull for 2020. And now on to Renault, and they have had Nico Hülkenberg at the team for quite a few seasons now, and for the 2019 season they have signed Daniel Ricciardo from Red Bull. And now Renault have not had a good start to the 2019 season, so is that going to turn around, or are they keep going to have bad results? And are their drivers going to get frustrated being at Renault? But they don't really have any other options opening up for them at the moment, so they're probably best just to stay at Renault and hope that they can climb themselves back up the grid. So for 2020, I think Renault's lineup will be Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo. And so now on to Haas, and their current drivers are Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean, and we saw at the Spanish Grand Prix those two coming together almost, and Romain Grosjean having to go off the track a number of times at the first corner, and that actually probably got him some damage, and we saw the team principal at the end of the race. He actually came onto the team radio to both of the drivers, and he asked Magnussen to come and see him. So he probably wasn't very happy with that and what Kevin Magnussen did to his teammate. And as for Grosjean, he is kind of treading on very thin ice at Haas at the moment, because last season he crashed so many times that obviously we saw the team principal Gunther Steiner, he was not happy with that at all, and I don't think he's going to be at the team for very longer, in my honest opinion. I think that Haas will want to bring in someone new, and that someone is going to be Sergio Perez. I think this would be a very good move for Haas if they were to make it, and Sergio Perez has a knack of just grabbing very good results for his team in not the quickest of cars, and he has got a lot of podiums to his name, and I think this would help Haas go in the right direction that they want to go in as well. So for the 2020 season, I think Haas's lineup will be Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez. And so now on to McLaren, and their current lineup is Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. And this lineup is a pretty good lineup as we've seen so far in the season, and they have got good results between them, and they have a good relationship between each other as well. So I think this will be a good partnership going forward for McLaren, and I don't see why they would want to change at all. So I think for the 2020 season that McLaren's lineup will be Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. And so now on to Racing Point, and so if Sergio Perez does leave the team and go to Haas, as I predicted, then obviously they've got a seat to fill. And so who does fill that seat? Well, there is probably 2 or 3 main candidates for this. I mean, the first one would probably be Esteban Ocon. He was at the team last season, and he's probably the driver who's best suited for that seat going forwards. But there's also George Russell possibly could make a step up to Force India. And maybe possibly Nicholas Latifi as well, if Force India would want to make that risk, I suppose, with an inexperienced driver. But I think for 2020 that Racing Point's lineup will be Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll. And now on to Alfa Romeo, and I think Kimi Räikkönen is going to stay at the team. Not really much question about that. But who fills the second seat in the team? Well, currently it's Antonio Giovinazzi who's there, but he's not exactly set the world alight there, and I think they're going to go a bit bold here, or I'm going to be a bit bold in saying this, but I think they're going to bring in Mick Schumacher to the team. Yes, I know it's early, and I know he's said that he's probably not ready for F1 yet, but I think Alpha are going to bring him in anyway, see how he does. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? So I think for next season, Alfa Romeo's lineup will be Kimi Räikkönen and Mick Schumacher. So on to Toro Rosso now, and obviously earlier I said that Daniel Kvyat would go up to Red Bull and that Pierre Gasly would be demoted down to Toro Rosso, and the other driver at the team is Alex Albon, and I think he'll stay there as well. So I think the lineup for Toro Rosso for 2020 will be Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon. And now last but not least, on to Williams, and for next season I think George Russell is definitely going to be staying at the team, but who fills the other seat? Well, there's the current driver in the team, Robert Kubica, and his comeback story has been very good indeed. But will he stay at the team? And what are their other options? Well, there's Sergei Sorokin, he could maybe come back to the team. Or if indeed Grosjean does leave Haas, does he go to Williams maybe and try and get the team back up to where they possibly should be? And that could be an option for Williams, but that's not what I think is going to happen. I think that Williams' second driver is going to be Jamie Chadwick. And as I'm recording this, only a couple of days ago, it was announced that she would be the development driver for the team. So when I saw this, that's when I thought she is going to be the driver for Williams for 2020. And she is a very good driver. She has won the W Series inaugural race and came second in the second race. So she is not too bad of a driver. So that's what I think is going to happen. And I think Williams' lineup for next season is going to be George Russell and Jamie Chadwick. And so that concludes my F1 2020 driver lineup predictions. And if you agree or you disagree with any of the predictions I've made, then do comment down below what you think. And also, at the end of the season, or when we find out what the lineups are going to be for 2020, I will probably make a video and reacting to this and probably how bad I've done. So stay tuned for that. And so if you have enjoyed the video, then do leave a like, share the video around and subscribe to the channel to see more videos on F1. And so I will see you next time for another video, and goodbye.